Hey folks, Gandhi here. I want to talk a little bit about this experimental setup. So we've got a high pressure sodium and a Veloya RF700. Both of these are dimmed down to match PPF levels. And what I've got here is a compact basil, lemon basil, Thai basil, and sweet basil that we've been growing out, and they've been grown out under LED in the office. But what we wanted to do is set up and look at the difference between temperature on canopy versus light intensity, and talk about the effect of VPD on that crop's performance. For this demonstration, we've got the dual-ended high-pressure sodium 1000 watt dimmed down to about 600 watts, which puts out about 1140 ppf total output, and as well the 720 watt LED dimmed down to about 65%, which puts out just over 1100 ppf total. I mean, it is worth noting that the hotspot from underneath the high pressure sodium, both for heat and lighting, is going to be more pronounced than the uniformity of the bar fixture. Again, this is just for demonstration. It's not for a hard R&D project. However, we did want to demonstrate the temperature differential on the canopy level from the two different light sources. After 10 years of doing horticultural lighting, there's still an ongoing debate about the importance or efficacy of high pressure sodium. I mean, it's still the industry workhorse on the West Coast. A lot of new markets are mandating the conversion over to LED. And, you know, in an environment like this where I can't control the temperature, let's say it's like a retrofit situation. So the average temperature in here is 71.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and the relative humidity is around 60.4%. So when it comes to VPD and growing a warm season annual like basil indoors, I've only got so much control over the ambient atmosphere. So that's where the LED versus HPS argument really comes into play. Basil is a warm season annual. It likes to be grown in the sun at higher temperature. So without a heater and or humidifiers, I can only control the environment so much in here to get the basil to be happy, where the HPS actually throws heat on the canopy for warming it. We've got several demonstrations of the average temperature and the effective temperature on the canopy. And in general, what we see, the leaf surface temperature with high pressure sodium is typically 7 to 9 degrees warmer than LED. And in an optimized room, like a warm room, LED plants will actually have a leaf surface temperature that is a few degrees warmer than ambient. For example, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, ambient 83 degrees Fahrenheit leaf surface temperature, and that's a well-run, well-oiled machine. And in a high-pressure sodium grow, if the ambient temperature is set at 75 Fahrenheit, the leaf surface temperature could be and should be north of 80 degrees. Both of those landing on a leaf surface temperature that's around 83 degrees. It's just two different ways to get there. When it comes to building out a new facility, I still stand by the fact that there is no other way to go than LED for indoor controlled environmental agriculture applications. However, a lot of existing facilities are engineered for high pressure sodium when it comes to HVAC. So to retrofit and put LED into that facility could mean, say you spend $500 on a light, it could be an additional $100 to $200 per light to update that HVAC to get that facility up to running LED. And the visual demonstration that we're setting up here is that this heat on canopy from the high pressure sodium is actually beneficial to the crop's production. It's going to perform better, it's going to yield better, and it's going to just overall be a better operational without serious updates to the infrastructure. So without the ability to heat, humidify, or modify the environment in any other way, getting this basil to be happy in this office, HPS is actually going to be a better bet. Now when it comes to a lot of other crops and or situations, you know, like I said earlier, converting from high pressure sodium over to LED is not as easy as we all thought it was at one time. It takes serious considerations for environmental factors, HVAC, DQ, all of those things come into play, and actually heating the room, which is unique to most growers when they first go to LED. Now, there is a middle ground where we can ease the transition, test the capacity of the HVAC, and that is to actually run a hybrid configuration where, here I've demonstrated it limited to an effect, but because we have such a low clearance to the crop surface from the fixtures, but where you can get 4 to 5 feet from the canopy, actually having these mixed light scenarios is generating some of the best results, even better than LED on its own or high pressure sodium on its own. You still get the benefit of that forward throw heat onto the canopy, and then you get the alternative benefit from LED, getting that optimized PAR targeted spectrum. So you get the best of both worlds. And you also, when you do this and take this approach, you can, cut your overall operating expenses, but also do risk mitigation to make sure that you don't go face first into the LED conversion and find out the hard way that your HVAC can't handle it, or your growers can't handle it, or your SOPs aren't set for it, or your set points aren't right, and actually transition over to a 50-50 hybrid of HPS and LED. And then you can even move to a 2-to-1 LED to HPS hybrid as well. When it comes to knowing what lighting strategy is best, it's really important to consider, we're learning now that we're in the second and third generation of LED fixtures, understanding the light output degradation. Over time, a lot of the fixtures are marketed and sold to have a 90% maintenance where they only lose 10% of their lighting output at 100,000 hours, when the reality is it could be much less than that. That would be 11 years on a 12-hour cycle. But you could see, and we have seen now in some first and second and even current generation of LED fixtures, where the light is output is down to 50 to 60% from 100% in only 2 years. And the only way to really know that is to test the fixtures, and a lot of warranties don't even cover that. So be careful what you're sourcing, be careful what you're understanding from the salesperson, and then also document your usage of your fixtures over time, so that if you do have an issue, the first question is, how many hours have these fixtures been running? Make sure you can prove that. It's really important when determining a lighting strategy or transitional strategy from high pressure sodium to LED to make sure that you understand, the quality of the hardware that you're hanging up, the light degradation curve of the LED, and then also make sure that you're relamping your high pressure sodium on the proper intervals to make sure that you're getting the right production out of that product. When you're figuring out your lighting strategy, whether if you're going to be transitioning from HPS over to LED, building a new facility and just running LED, you need to understand the light output and degradation of the fixtures that you're purchasing, be it HPS or LED or a combination thereof. So what we're doing now is the Relamp and Relax program. If you need new high pressure sodium lamps, they're harder to source. So we can help you source them and recycle your old ones without ever missing a beat on your high pressure sodium. Make sure you're running the most sustainable program with HPS that you can. And also, if you have LEDs that have been running for a few years, we can take those in, test them, and provide a report to you to understand where your point of diminishing returns is and where you're going to need to relamp before you see it on the bottom line of your yield report. So if you have any questions about this or other lighting applications or CEA, controlled environmental ag in general, please feel free to reach out, and I'll do my best to answer it. Thanks for watching.